is WLWA TV Channel 11 Atlanta. It's time now for the 7 o'clock report for this Thursday, May 24th, 1962. Here's Peter Wiggins. Good evening, everybody. On this Thursday, May 24th, 1962, here's what's happening. American astronaut Malcolm Scott Carpenter rode an emergency life raft in the Atlantic Ocean this afternoon after successfully completed a difficult feat orbits around the Earth. Shining at the Carpenter safe on the raft beside the space capsule Aurora 7, and nearly an hour of tense waiting to see if the space voyage would end the disaster. Paramedics were prepared to drop into water to assist them. The capsule landed some 200 miles outside the intended recovery area, and there was no immediate radio contact, and the astronaut rescue aircraft and recovery ships were sent spinning to the point where Aurora 7 splashed down at some 1,000 miles south of Cape Canaveral, Florida. Then, shortly after 1:29 p.m., Project Mercury officials announced a Navy P-2V Neptune has reported sighting a spacecraft floating in the landing area. Alongside was a life raft, and sitting in it was a gentleman named Carpenter. The 37-year-old astronaut completed an epical fact-finding mission expected to lead in longer flights than other astronauts later this year. Carpenter rose in the sky at 7:45 a.m. after ending the smoothest countdown in the history of the Mercury manned in space program. There was a moment during his orbit when ground monitors feared it might be necessary to limit his flights to 2 orbits. This fear was caused by indications that the fuel supply for the spacecraft jet controls was being used up too rapidly. Officials awarded Carpenter by radio to switch to hand control that the jets conserve the supply. In Chico, California, as explosion today destroyed a Titan intercontinental ballistic missile and its underground hider, the Titan complex near Chico. The Air Force reported 24 people suffered smoke inhalation in the fiery blast. At 3 were no fatalities. Orbit satellite. Cape Canaveral, Mrs. Scott Carpenter's on plans to watch her husband's orbital launch. I really want to see it. There's nothing at all like it to stand on the beach and see it's going to go up at a pretty full altitude to the crowd. Boulder, Colorado. Boulder's biggest policeman was assigned to guard the front door of Mrs. Florence Carpenter's trailer home. Deirdre and her said that she watched her son's flight in space. Mrs. Carpenter said she didn't want to bother by newsmen while watching the telecast of Scott Carpenter's flight, so the police department assigned 6'6" patrolman Gaynor Tiny Walker to guard her door. He weighs 260 pounds. Cape Canaveral, Scott Carpenter reached in the bag of very special bonbons for his lunch in space today. John Glenn, the first American to orbit in Earth, had to squeeze his snacks from a tube. Carpenter tried out solid food for the first time in space. Carpenter's lunch consists of about 20 bite-sized chunks of compressed food. He carried them aloft in a plastic bag inside his space capsule. When he was ready to try a snack, he reached into inside his bag and picked out one of the natural colored bonbons. Osaka, Japan, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin extended a good wishes today to American astronaut Malcolm Scott Carpenter as long as the project is peaceful purposes. Washington President Kennedy looked on by television today as astronaut Malcolm Scott Carpenter became America's second man in orbit. Kennedy saw Carpenter's liftoff on the television set in the bedroom of his living quarters in the executive mansion before walking over to his office. In New York, a man acclaimed for doing a good job above the Earth today was honored for doing a good job on it. Marine Lieutenant Colonel John H. Glenn Jr. was named the nation's Father of the Year. Although Glenn, the first American to orbit his planet, he been as far away from his family as any man has been. He was rated tops as a family plan by the National Father's Day Committee. In Bangkok, Thailand, heavy monsoon caused a pile up over Bangkok canals and temples, and soon threatened range with full major military action throughout Southeast Asia for the next 3 months. But meanwhile, the United States has given the communists as an impressive demonstration of its ability to deliver troops backed by the enormous firepower in the Air Force and their weapons to any area in this part of the world. A tiny restaurant in Bangkok, Stockside hardly had time to realize that the newfound prosperity before U.S. Marines had gone. Their equipment unloaded in their new camp site established given 7 miles east of the important junction town of Udorn. 7 district supporters of Lieutenant Governor Gunnar D. Byrd will meet in Rome Tuesday night to discuss future plans and have agreed to hear from Senator Carl Sanders, who is hoping to win their support since a heart attack forced Byrd out of the gubernatorial race. Dr. Charles Williams, a leader of the Byrd group in Rome, emphasized that Tuesday's caucus in the Byrd meeting and that Sanders himself had requested to meet with them. He had said that they will be glad to hear from Sanders and also welcome the meeting with Marvin Green and Marvin Griffin, the other major candidate of the former governor, requested session. Dr. Williams says it is unlikely that the Bird Group will decide at 7 p.m. Tuesday meeting and then the fourth total which its candidates they will support. Franklin, Texas. This little town is more than 5,000 miles away from London's Baker Street, but the case of the 9 bullet holes would fascinate Sherlock Holmes. Like many things in Texas these days, it is connected with the collapse of the Billy Soul Estes empire of business. The question that a grand jury here is trying to decide on whether a man could commit suicide by shoot himself 5 times more than a 22 caliber ball and rifle. Each shot would have involved 5 separate hand motions, or there was Henry H. Marshall murdered. He was the head of the Production and Adjustment Department of U.S. Department of Agriculture Office in Texas. One of his duties was to look into continental elements, including those of Estes, now under federal and state charges of fraud and violation of Texas antitrust law. Washington, the United States today rushed arrangements to bring several thousand of red Chinese refugees to this country from Hong Kong. Started in about 2 weeks. The action was announced by President Kennedy at his news conference Wednesday. Administration officials said that the U.S. step was carefully chosen to help relieve suffering, but without encouraging more mainland Chinese to survive, which would create great problems for Jam, British, Hong Kong, and possibly lead to border violence. It left unsolved what Kennedy called the basic problem of hunger among 650 million mainland Chinese. The refugees to be brought help under emergency presidential powers of parole are that those who have fled in recent months to Hong Kong. With an annual U.S.-Chinese immigration quota of 105, there were already in Hong Kong estimated about 21,500 Chinese registered on a waiting list have come here. About 5,000 to 6,000 of those have been 7 and cleared for eventual admission. It's 4 for these already clean. Chinese who have won for years that the new group after further screening will be selected. U.S. officials will not say how many. Cape Canaveral, Florida. When Malcolm Scott Governor was selected in 1959 as one of the 7 Mercury astronauts, was thankfully to be rescued from what he considered a grill and examined a 2-year an aircraft carrier with a 2-year tour of duty. On the carrier, he would be faced long periods away from his family and a disappointing prospect of a non-flying job. The Mercury orders arrived just 2 days before the ship was in order in San Diego. When the carrier commander asked him what he was going to be doing on, Carpenter replied, "Well, the nose on the Atlas 3 times around Europe. It remember being a little amazed at the own words." Carpenter said recently, "I knew little about the program then. By now I knew a good deal about the whole idea. Fills me with it." Carpenter, 37, a Navy lieutenant commander, was pressed suddenly into the pilot role for the second U.S. manned orbit flight. His March 15th window was said to disclose that the chosen astronaut is Air Force Major Donald K. Softos. Had minor heart trouble. Carpenter had been vector pilot for Marine Lieutenant Colonel John H. Glenn Jr. on orbit flight on February 20th. The handsome crew Carpenter has been a vital member of the SNTV, especially of the navigation and communications and theater's work extensively with engineers and technicians in developed a foolproof communications system at Mercury capsule. Carpenter is an exemplary now, but it took them a pilot then to find himself, he said recently, that in the UFO was a drifter and I have a Nogan in his hometown of Boulder, Colorado. We have been born on May 1st, 1925. I didn't study hard and I quit high school football because I couldn't devote myself to learning the plays. He said, "I stole things from stores and I was just drifting outside of no good." After high school graduation in 1943, he enlisted in the Navy and started flying crew in the Navy V-5 flight training. Macon, Georgia. A federal judge ruled today that Bibb County segregated ruling and constitutional called for written assignments on whether an immigration should be issued. A Stroud vote taken at the 7th district meeting of business leaders in Rome Wednesday showed state Senator Carl Saunders a heavy favorite in the governorship race in Georgia. The same poll showed Peter Zach geared to the winner of the lieutenant governor and Jimmy Brentley to the choice Tennessee Capital Zach Grantley. The informed vote was taken at a seminar and an industrial development sponsored by the Trust Company of Georgia Wednesday at Cuba Country Club. The meeting was attended by some 40 representatives taking institutions and industrial development groups and the 7th district. The News Tribune of Rome included the vote the way for Governor Sanders was 34, ex-Governor Marvin Griffin 2. For Lieutenant Governor Gary 19, Reverend Cal and Kid 5 State, Senator Peyton Hundos 5, and Macon Mayor Ed Wilson 5, and Representative John Sheffield 1. For Control Jimmy Bentley 38 and incumbent Zach Gravy 1. In Atlanta, 3 Judge Federal Court escalated a hearing on congressional Redistrict petition for Georgia Witch could set a precedent for similar cases in Avon State's Chief Judge LBP Tuttle and the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals said Wednesday that the most difficult problem is in mind wherever the federal court had jurisdiction in the matter since the U.S. Constitution granted Congress the right to compel states to remedy District Judge Louis R. Morgan announced. However, panel member District Judge Griffin Bell has hospitalized with a back injury and listened to arguments over and in the communication sits into the hospital room. Tuttle gave attorneys for both sides 10 to 13 days of Smith briefs on whether an action by the court requiring district would be interfering with the functions of the Congress. The judge raised on the question of whether congressional redistricting in Georgia should not be left up to the reappointment state legislature. The legislature should be revised only on the order the same federal plan which spent the first 2 days of the week carrying arguments on legislature reappointments. Both suits charged discrimination against residents of Georgia's most populous counties. The congressional redistricting suit was brought by 2 Atlanta residents, James P. Weber Jr. and accountant Counselor Grimm and an insurance man. They bought an injunction to support Governor Ernest Vanderbilt to call a special session of the legislature to set up a new boundaries of the state's 10 congressional districts to order Georgia's 10 Congress elected from the state at large. Tuttle asked whether it would not be a good judicial practice to prevent legislature take a first look at the redistricting problem, whether or not the court to order changes now. The judge decided this question was based on an assumption that the court should decide that Georgia's present legislature is malpresident must be revised. Frank Cash, attorney for the London, said they would not be satisfied with such an arrangement because it would mean at least a 2-year delay in changing district lines. Okay, now on the weather. Right now at Atlanta Airport at 7 p.m. and it's May 24th, 1962 on a Thursday. Temperatures 86, the heat index of 87, the 2.63 douche. Humidity 46%, barometer 20.96 inches, visibility 15 miles, but winds west-northwest about 9 miles, and overcast skies. Around the region, it is 86 galores all over the place from Fulton and Marietta and stretching in from east from DeKalb and Lawrenceville, 86 in Rome, 90 in Chattanooga, 87 in Athens, 91 in Macon, 90 in Columbus, 90 in Albany, 90 in Valdosta, 93 in Brunswick, 93 in Savannah, Georgia 93 in Hilton Head, South Carolina 84 in Charleston, 80 in Myrtle Beach, 87 in Florence, 87 in Columbia, 87 in Greenville, Spartanburg, 80 in Florence and Huntsville, 80 in Gadsden, 90 in Birmingham, 90 in Auburn, 90 in Columbus, 90 in Tuscaloosa, 91 in Troy, Montgomery, Alabama, 91 in Dauphin, Alabama, 90 in Mobile, Alabama, 90 in Pensacola, 90 out in Panama City, 90 out in Tallahassee, and 95 in Jacksonville, Florida. Alright, weather-wise, by the Nation Today shows hail in Charlottesville yesterday and today in parts of the North and Middle states, and rain fell in the Lake region and the Western Plains states and the Rockies. The Central Plateau region and the Pacific Northwest. It was cool in the Lake region and the Plateau region and warmer than the Great Plains and the Pacific states. So our forecast for Atlanta vicinity goes like this. Partly cloudy skies and rather hot tonight and Friday with a few widely scattered afternoon thunderstorms. Low tide 62, high Friday 92 degrees. That's coming in for the 7 o'clock report on WLWA TV channel 11 Atlanta. I'm Piers Avery. Have a good evening, and coming next will be the ABC Evening Report. I'll be back for the 11 o'clock report at 11 p.m. Good night, and I'll see you at 11. Have a good evening.